What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso, joined for the first time in a bit by Will Parkinson. It's been too long since we've done one together. We've been ships in the night loading up this feed. Will, we're going to go through all 14 new players the Jets added and give a quick take on each of them as a little bonus Monday night pod. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm good. Where it's kind of like this quiet period that hasn't been a insane free agency, obviously, by any means. And then on top of that, the Jets also haven't really done much. So it was like this crazy rush for a few days, and now we kind of get that weird in-between phase for the next 10 days where guys, they'll get some signings probably sprinkled in here, but a majority of it, these guys are now going to just try to wait till after the draft. A lot of the bigger names out there, for them, why would they don't really want to do OTAs. And they also want to see like what these rosters look like. And I think teams now, like the Jets should focus on extending some of their in-house guys and taking care of some in-house business, some other hiring, focusing on the draft. And then you hit that wave 2, wave 3 of free agency. So it's an eerie time of year. You're kind of always waiting for news to drop, but at the same time, you can kind of chill out a little bit.
Yeah, I think you said it very well. I would like to see a Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner contract be contemplated in the coming few weeks. The draft stuff will ramp up fast and furious. We know that. We're also in full prep mode for our live show. So there's always plenty to talk about. And look, we got 14 new players to talk about. This doesn't even factor in the guys that they brought back or the Jamin Davises of the world who no one remembered was on the roster, but they actually brought back. So it's been a lot of small transactions is how I would describe the Jets offseason so far. So, of the 14, the Mougey 14, let's call them, that were 8 days in, I don't think any surprise at all. I'm going to say number one is Justin Fields, the presumed starting quarterback. The biggest splash that they made, one that I don't think shocked any of us. I think the full expectation is and should be there really won't be a quarterback battle in camp. He'll be the starter. Tyrod will be the backup. I'm sure we'll see Tyrod at some point, whether it's due to some inconsistency for Fields or he gets banged up with how much he runs. But I think most Jet fans are relatively optimistic that with Angstrand and with some of the stuff Fields could do with his legs, with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen and the 4 linemen you have, that there's a version of this that could work at least for a year or two, and maybe it turns into something bigger than that. But I think of the options they had, this made the most sense, and it's been a generally well-received move. I'll hit my 2 and 3 quick, and then I'll throw it to you for your initial thoughts. 2, Andre Cisco at safety. I think it's kind of like the consensus non-Fields favorite signing. I think for good reason. Big need. The style of football that he plays, I think, is the kind of player we expected the Jets to add under Aaron Glenn. 1-year deal, no real risk, but a guy who will immediately be the best safety they've had in a couple of years and should be a perfect plug and play for just a spot that needs exactly what he does on the back end. For 3, and again, I'm going based on what I think the biggest impact is going to be, not necessarily positive or negative impact. Brandon Stevens playing in the secondary at corner, probably not safety. We had a fun 18 seconds where he thought he was playing safety, and then I think the Jets saw us tweeting about it and immediately readjusted him back to corner. I don't know. I think 90% of me thinks he's going to play corner. 10% of me thinks we're going to see him at safety at some point, maybe in certain packages. I've heard the whole, he's always in the right spot. He just has no ball awareness. And I guess the impact of that.
We have that player, unfortunately, on the other side.
Yeah, we've seen that. That could be among the most frustrating things to watch. So I'm kind of buckle up for watching this guy. That being said, if the Jets are going to travel Sauce a good amount and maybe use him in different ways, the kind of guys that Stevens will get matched up with maybe don't win as many contested catches, and it's not as easy for them to make plays. The athleticism's there. You could see the traits. He's going to start, and you could tell from the money, going to play a lot. So I had to put him in the number 3 slot because those 3, I think, without question, are going to be starters. And I would say of the 14, they're the only 3 at this point who are definitely guaranteed to be top of the depth chart number 1 starters. What are your thoughts on that top 3?
Yeah, I would say Fields. I got asked 800 times this weekend. Naturally, you're out with friends and whatever. And what do you think about Fields? I'll use my token curse here. If he sucks, fuck it. And if he's good, that's awesome. Like, there's not really what's the downside here that you have to pay a little bit extra money next year. You have dead money if you have to cut Fields. Cool. I mean, that sucks, but realistically, they would have a rookie at that point anyways, so you may be able to absorb it and kind of talk yourself into it that way. And if Fields is good, he's the cheapest, best value play starter, right? Even if he's cheap this year, he's $8 million against the cap. The Jets are able to add some void years, and again, like, I'm not saying there's no risk, but in terms of the other risky moves they could have made at quarterback, this one, we've seen it too many times that this thing could work. And again, we've also seen it where he might be bad. Like, there is that possibility, and that's why you have Tyrod Taylor. And I just feel like going into this offseason or going to the draft, you wanted to have a situation where if you want to take a rookie, sure. If you want to talk me into Tyler Shough or Jalen Milroe or one of these guys, okay, like we can have that conversation. But the whole point is you don't want them anywhere near the field this year. And Tyrod Taylor's with his injury history, like just drafting a rookie and hoping that they're not going to play as a backup, I think is a bad move. So, I think the Fields, again, I like it. Would you have loved Fields at $10 million? Sure, but the Jets weren't getting him because from all the reports, the Steelers put a huge emphasis. He was their guy. Like, they wanted him back. They offered him the same thing the Jets did with no guarantees in year 2. He took the Jets deal, rightfully so. In terms of the other two, I think Cisco's the most fun signing because he's probably the one that's been the best of those three throughout his entire career. I think he's a grew-up Jets fan, Long Island kid that actually is good. So that could be potentially a fun storyline, and we can, I think people get more and more excited. He's also a Syracuse guy, so you kind of get the double. A lot of parts of this fan base are Long Island. We have I'm not sure, our entire Discord might have gone to Syracuse. I'm not entirely sure. Plus he brings a physical brand of football. I'm very curious how they deploy him. I tweeted about this, and we thought Stevens might be moving to safety. I almost think Stevens, if you wanted to partner them, could be more that kind of free reign, like run around the back, be able to be kind of more that free safety type. And maybe he's better than Jason Pinnock, but like that type of player where it's like, hey, like low risk in a lot of senses. He's still not cheap by any means. I don't love the deal. It's weird the deal hasn't come out yet. But again, the talent's there. Cisco, I feel like while he can play center field and do that, I almost wonder with the physicality and like the nature to cause turnovers, could they be more useful? Maybe, kind of in the box and see what he can maybe do there. I'm not saying he has to be a box safety, but could he be somebody that like plays a little closer to the line of scrimmage? Maybe you blitz once in a while, do things like that. I think I'm taking the over on 1.5 ejections. If our friends at Underdog want to set that line up, and I'm not going to be mad about it because I've talked about this a million times. The Lions safeties have played on the edge of John Lynch, Rodney Harrison, not saying that level. And actually, Kirby Joseph this year and Brian Branch have played at similar levels, I guess, at points. But that physical nature where, like, if you're a tight end going over the middle, and I'm not saying this is a good thing, but I'm thinking about my ACLs when I'm running over the middle. I'm thinking about a headshot. And, like, the Jets just haven't had that. Jordan Whitehead was supposed to be this big hitter. Unfortunately, like,
can't tackle.
Couldn't actually tackle really well. And then, Tony Adams and Chuck Clark and the whole thing. And Ashton Davis made plays, but like on a down-by-down basis wasn't consistent enough to be a starter in the league. So I guess all in all, I like the Cisco signing the best of value, age, ability on the field. The Field signing, again, is like if he's good, great. And if he's bad, like we're probably drafting a guy anyways in 26. So what's the harm? And then again, you just mentioned with Stevens, you hope you get the 23 tape if he's at corner. And if he's at safety for whatever reason, can he just be like a NFL league average starter? You mentioned Brodney Poole, the Jim Leonard types where it's like you're not doing anything super special. You're not causing a million turnovers, but can you just be like solid? And then the other guy that you're playing with can be pretty damn good. And that's what you would hope with those three.
All right, we move on to the next tier. The Stoners, Stone Smart, number 4, potentially, I guess the starting tight end, although probably not. But a guy I think from how he closed the year has some intriguing athleticism. Is he someone who could be that sort of like glorified big slot? Do I think he's really a full-time starter? No, but do I think there are some intriguing ways to use him in 12 personnel? Yeah, probably for the right offensive coordinator. There's traits there. And again, the Jets are not laying out a lot of money here. and this is, again, not surprising to me. This has been kind of a popular one. He's a guy that he plays a skill position. He flashed a little upside. He has intriguing measurables, and the depth chart is just barren, right? It's like him and Ruckert, who hasn't really shown anything. Yeboah is gone. Conklin's still a free agent. Maybe he comes back. Maybe he doesn't. Tyler Warren, a very popular mock pick for the Jets. Kind of feels like anyway, like he's going to make the team and get some targets. And they went and got him probably saying like, is there some meat on the bone from an athleticism perspective? And, he's going to be listed as a tight end, but he's really a big slot receiver. And he's going to be a big target for Justin Fields over the middle. I put Josh Myers at 5. He is he will start games at some point. Now, I believe that the Jets are going to do the Myers at center, Tippmann at guard, AVT at right tackle? No, but I've watched the Jets the last few years. Could I see that happening at some point? Or is someone going to get banged up at some point in the interior offensive line that allows Myers to start? Like, sure. He's a good backup lineman, and you need a good backup interior offensive lineman. He's got a lot of starting experience, kind of like just a good, normal free agent signing. A core for started a lot of games for the Steelers. Chooks, as I'm just going to call him now, as you let me know his nickname is from your All 32 Pats coverage as well. Nightmare season last year, was an average at best starter for the Steelers for a while before that. Better than Max Mitchell and Carter Warren. I hope he's not the starting right tackle. The Jets will have problems if he's their starting right tackle. For now, he's penciled into that role as your third tackle. If he doesn't feel like quitting this on the team, and listen, who wants to play in New England? I get it. Fine as your third tackle and potentially an upgrade. Certainly a lot more experience than what they were dealing with Mitchell or Warren. And 7, I have Nandi, who they just signed from the Chiefs. The closest thing they signed out of all the defensive linemen to a guy who can play like 45% of the snaps next to Quinnen and be fine. They need more, but he's like a legitimate rotational defensive tackle in the NFL, whereas the other guys, I feel like little more of a stretch. So what do you think of that next crop of 4?
I will say
you a stoner at tight end?
This is my only thing with Smart, and I'm going to sound like a downer here. I got a lot of 2020 Jets vibes when they signed him and everyone threw a goddamn parade. I'm like, all right, let's relax. Okay.
It's like 12 catches last year.
Scenarios thing again where a guy has 18 catches and everyone's like, dude, future $10 million a year player? Maybe, maybe not. That said, there is some exciting stuff. I asked people around the Jets and asked people around the league. There is some he can play that F role in an offense, and he's athletic and he's a good contested catch guy. So there is upside to like there. I did enjoy people being like, Jim Harbaugh, I thought he was a good blocker. I'm like, he also non-tendered him. So after 3 years. So, let's just use the tape. There is some fun stuff there on tape. He's athletic. He can stretch the field. And if you get 20 catches for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns out of him, well worthwhile signing. That's probably the expectation. And maybe he's better than that. And he continues to develop. Can he come on late in his career and be a Jordan Reed? That'd be great. I'm not expecting a ton. I think he'll be on the roster. Again, I think they could use him in certain packages. He might be a good guy in the red zone. So, again, I'm not trying to damper that one. I just felt like using Jim Harbaugh quoting a guy who he just non-tendered at 26 years old isn't exactly whatever. But, again, I think there's some exciting things to like there. There's no reason to hate the signing. It's a very, again, low-risk, high-reward signing. I want to just go to Chooks 4-4 here quickly because I think, again, he's one of those guys, Stone Smart and a tight end 3 role that can play some slot, can play some Fs, can play some tight end at times in the red zone. Great signing. If he's your starter, we have a problem. Chooks 4-4 could start games for you. And if he's mentally locked in and you draft a Tyler Warren that can help you in the, from a blocking perspective and chip a bunch and do these different things, sure, you could convince me running out Chooks 4-4 for 17 games isn't the worst thing in the world. I just don't love that he quit on the team after 5 plays last year. And we can make fun of New England all we want, but he quit in week 1. This isn't he quit in week 10 when they sucked. They actually won that game. And again, Mayo was a disaster and a lot of things in New England were a problem, but that's a guy that you're going to need to seriously make sure is locked in. Cause again, he's an NFL tackle and he can play games. And